Hi, everyone. Welcome back for episode 40 of the Simply Walton podcast. I'm your host, Colin. I'm joined by my co-host, Chris.
How we doing, everybody?
We're just a couple of best friends who are passionate about all things pop culture. If you're looking for lukewarm takes on movies, video games, TV shows, or even the occasional comic, then we've got the show for you.
That's right.
And this past week, well, yesterday, actually, this weekend, Chris and I went and saw the holiday action comedy Violent Night with David Harbour. And before we give our review on that, we do have to talk about a ton of trailers.
Oh, yeah.
Mandalorian Season 3 got a release date. Jedi Survivor got some updates.
Oh.
And David Harbour actually apparently is starring in a horror game.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
I didn't either. I mean, until I read it, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh, yeah, we got to talk about that.
I go into these things blind.
Pretty blind, yeah.
News-wise, but...
So, anything you want to talk about before we get into the bulk of the show here?
No, let's dive right in.
All right, let's jump into it, baby. So, starting off with our news, like I said, a lot of trailers.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty trailer heavy. I didn't go too much on news because there's a lot of trailers. So, what do I say? Choo-choo! All aboard the train to Trailer Town. Everybody on, you know. Tickets, please. You know. So, we'll start off with a banger. We got a trailer for Indy 5.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is the official title for it. And obviously Harrison Ford's back as Indy. We did get a couple glimpses of de-aged Harrison Ford.
Yeah. And
And
they didn't
doesn't look bad at all.
No.
It kind of reminded me of Boba Fett Mark Hamill.
Yes.
Not Mandalorian Season 2 Mark Hamill.
Yes.
Where I was like, they could do it. I don't want them to, but they could.
They could. And,
You know?
yeah, I don't think it looked bad.
Uh-uh.
Now, if he passes, I don't think they should do it, but...
No, unless he gives explicit consent. You know what I mean? Unless he's
Sure.
like, use my face. And then you're like, all right.
I don't think he's gonna.
I don't either. He's pretty.
He's a cold-hearted bitch.
Yeah, he's not a ball player, you know. He's like, no, he's pretty cranky in a good way, you know.
Do you think he's, like, as cranky doing Indiana Jones? Because he loves...
No, he loves Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
You figure at D23 he got like choked up when they showed the trailer.
Oh,
And yeah, he got like emotional on stage of like, I'm just so fucking happy to do this, you know. Which I just love that it's like, you know, he's at the Lucas, you know, because it's all Lucasfilm. So he's at like the Lucasfilm panel. And it's like, you know, a couple years ago, you wouldn't have got him caught dead out there. And if he was, he'd have been like, you figure he had a smile doing the Force Awakens press. That's just because he dies. You know, he's like, thank you, fucking God. I've been telling him to do this for fucking 30 years, you know? He wanted him to die. He didn't want him to wake up from the fucking carbonite. Like, he was like, yeah, just kill him. He's done. And it didn't happen. So they had to bring him back. The only way they got him back was, we will kill you. We will pay you, and then we'll kill the character, and you never have to do it again. He was a bet. Big fucking bet.
just Harrison Ford. Deal.
Where do I sign? You know, he just but no, I think it looks like it's got some good action in it. We saw Boyd Holbrook,
Yeah.
you know, which I always, the only line of his that I always quote is, well, as I live and breathe, the Wolverine. And he's a junkie now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was the bad guy in Logan. But
I love his
and he
character.
hasn't been in
I haven't seen him
ton.
in too much. I loved his character in
Yeah.
Logan, too.
Yeah. He was one of the Reavers. I can't think of his name, but yeah, so he's in that, and he's got a nice, like, cop stash, you know? I am curious to see how they work around Harrison's age, because, like, a lot of the action that we saw didn't look super physical, you know what I mean? Where it was, like, him on horseback, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of him on in a mode of transportation, or like standing on top of a train.
Well, there was
you
one
know?
where he was on horseback, where he like
Right, yeah, that's what I'm
jumps-
saying.
Oh,
I didn't see him jump.
like it was
Like
him
from horse to
get-
horse?
No, he didn't jump like from horse to horse, but the horse was running, and he like got on real quick.
Yeah.
And you could
Kinda
kind
go,
of tell like,
that's not him.
That's a little bit of CGI.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to be upset about it.
No.
Obviously, Harrison Ford can't do that. He's
Right.
He's a
Yeah.
like
Yeah, so I think the way to get, like I said, I would like to see them right around that as opposed to
CGI.
forcing you to go, it's a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree with that.
You know, where, you know, you can write in the fact that, like, he's getting too fucking old for this shit, you know? You just can't do this. But I forgot to write her name down. I love her to death. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who wrote and directed and starred in Fleabag, is his like compatriot in this.
yeah,
Who he said he's her godfather.
Like IRL.
No, in the movie or in the trailer, he says that he's her godfather, but I don't know if
IRL.
IRL,
Like really?
like dope. What? Yeah, no, in the fucking trailer. And I'm fairly certain she helped. I'm pretty sure she helped write this because that's her main profession. Is she's a writer. So I'm pretty sure she helped write this. It is being directed. Not an odd connection. I'm sure there's a reason why they're connected now. It's being directed by James Mangold, who directed Logan.
Oh,
so
word.
that's probably a portion of why Boyd Holbrook is in there, is because he worked with him and enjoyed him. Couldn't tell from the trailer if Boyd Holbrook was like a villain or like a side character who's not necessarily helping them, but is along for the ride in some ways.
Sure,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because I do wonder if it's going to be the fucking Nazis again. I would be surprised because the war's over. You know what I mean? Like, who are the villains? Are they the Russians now? Because was it the Russians in Crystal Skull?
Yeah.
I feel like it was.
Yeah. Jimmy, pull that up.
Yeah. I like that you told yourself. Jamie, pull it up, and then you just start typing.
Russians. Yep.
Bingo.
Yep.
Yeah. Damn brewskis. You know? Life's cyclical, you know what I'm saying? It's a good time to live in America. The Russians are the bad guys again. Maybe we'll get another Rocky movie. You know, hey, we are getting Creed 3, but I don't think he's going to Russia to fist fight Dolph Lundgren. You know, oh man, Creed 2 was Dolph Lundgren's son. It came out like just a few years too soon. It could have been cool to fight Russians again.
Its time.
It was chill for the world to be like, yeah, fuck Russia. You know, we don't have to pretend anymore that they're cool. Let's see. We did get a trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah.
Looked like gas, I think. I don't think I'm going out on a limb there to go gas. Yeah, so we get to see.
We got to talk about.
Yeah, we get to see the Guardians really trying to be heroes, even down to like having matching uniforms, which is kind of cool. They weren't bad uniforms. Looked like they might have been.
It reminded me a lot of.
What's their gang? Well, the gang that he came from, the Ravagers.
I was gonna say, what's the police on? They have the starships that kind of turn into a star on the back.
Yeah, the Nova Corps.
Nova Corps, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, maybe they are working with the Nova Corps. I don't know.
It looks a little like that.
Yeah, because it had a symbol on the chest, but I don't remember what it was. We see them visiting an alien world that looks remarkably like Earth, like down to having a suburb.
Yeah.
You know, like a 50s idyllic suburb, but then they're just aliens. You know, creature-looking aliens, and Drax just. Like, you know, Peter's like, we come in peace, you know? And Drax just drills a little girl in the face with a fucking kickball.
They're all like,
Whoa,
whoa,
hey, what the fuck? And they start throwing rocks and shit at him. You know? It's like, yeah, really soured the mood. And it does seem to have a pretty strong focus on Rocket. Like, there's that really sad shot of, like, him as a baby in the trash.
Yeah.
And, like, the hand reaching in to grab him and him looking afraid. You know, and so the villain in this is the High Evolutionary, who made Rocket.
Yeah.
And so I think obviously that's going to be a big portion of this is like him dealing with his own past.
But I'm excited because we know nothing about
Not
Rocket.
really. I mean, you figure we get the little glimpse in the first one when he's in the bar and he's drunk and he's yelling at, you know.
Yeah.
He kind of has that outburst
me
about being a
freak.
monster and all that. And,
Little monster.
you're like, and then in the second one, it's about him with Yondu as far as like, you know, don't push people away, you know. And so I think he's had a pretty decent arc, and we're both.
Well, in the first one too, we get to see him like, you know, Brock. He takes off his shirt.
He's got his
and
scars
you
and
see
stuff.
All the just the bionicle.
Yeah. Bionicles.
Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, dude. I had a fucking computer game for the Bionicles.
Do you remember the show?
No.
Oh, dude, I was all.
I mean,
on
I
the
remember
show.
that there was a show, but I don't think I watched it. I just liked the Bionicles
Dude,
themselves.
I'd build them and I'd play them. And
Yeah.
I watched it.
Yeah. But
Gas.
gas. Welcome back to Gas or Pass. Bionicles.
Gas.
Let's see. I'm gonna put low power mode on the old iPad here because it's rapidly losing battery. We're gonna have to beat the clock here on this show. Let's see. We do see a glimpse or two of Gamora. And we also got to see Will Poulter for like a moment as Adam Warlock.
Oh, yeah.
He does just look like a guy that's been painted gold.
Yeah.
You know.
A little bit.
I don't know what to tell you about that, you know. On the same vein, you know, Gamora kind of looks like a woman you painted green. You know what I mean? So it's whatever. But, yeah. I guess they're like Adam Warlock was just literally made in a vat. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So maybe there is like an artificial aspect to him. You know what I mean? But, yeah. It is very much Will Poulter with gold face paint on. But, I kind of skipped over it. We definitely feel like Rocket's on the out, right? Him or Drax?
Yeah.
Or both?
I saw something someone posted. It was on, I think it might have been Twitter.
Uh-huh.
And it was someone talking about like, I'm not ready for the fact that like one of these 4 characters aren't going to make it.
He's going to die.
And it was Drax, Rocket, Doctor Strange, and somebody else. I can't remember. Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, like I'm not ready. I don't want any
of them
to go.
But it's one or multiple of them.
Do you think Doctor Strange is really going to die?
I think he's still got more to go. Yeah. I mean, you figure we got the tease at the end of his movie of like...
That's true. He's going to be back.
Yeah. He's going to go do stuff in the dark dimension. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, he's still got... But, like, Guardians 3 is being sold as, like, the last Guardians movie. You know what I mean? So, like...
I'm going to get really sad.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, when this shit just starts to end, like, what now?
What's the purpose, you know?
Yeah, like...
What do I do?
I figured this shit was going to go on until, like, forever. Now it's...
No, man. The show must go on, but doesn't mean it's got to be the same show.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
But, yeah. So let's see here. Any more thoughts on that? Oh, well, yeah, talking about somebody dying.
Yeah.
There's the couple shots of Peter absolutely breaking down and screaming.
Did you want to talk about what you thought about?
About Mantis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and I can't take credit for that. That was on Reddit, I think.
Oh.
That somebody had said, because there's a couple shots that look like they might be in the same scene. The one is Peter having an emotional breakdown. Looks like they're standing over like an operating table, potentially. Mm-hmm. And then another shot of Mantis also being very emotional, and it looks like it's in the same setting. And somebody on Reddit said, maybe, because everybody's like, oh, well, that's the scene that Rocket dies, or Drax dies, or, whatever it is. But maybe, just maybe, because they are exploring the high evolutionary stuff, mm-hmm. right? Maybe they find, like, the room that Rocket was made in, and or just an experiment room, and it's Mantis touching, like, the table and feeling all of the torment.
And she can touch
and she's, like, holding Quill's hand or something, and he is also experiencing it, which would be a good way of showing how horrendous the experiments that are being done there are, and kind of still give you some extra sympathy for Rocket, where you're like,
this guy, poor guy.
been through it, So
I hope
it's that.
It. Yeah, please, not Rocket. Like Rocket or Strange, like they.
None of them. I don't want anybody to die.
Well, yeah,
but also, people got to go.
If it had to be one, I mean, it is the hardest decision to make. But I think I'd want Drax to go first.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then
I don't mean but of the the 4 of them,
Drax, and then
I think of the 4 of them, Drax is the most likely.
Probably, yeah, because you were saying
talking about Dave Bautista, how he was so vocally against Disney when they fired
James
Gunn, back before he came back, obviously, but. And then he basically was like on Twitter, like, I'm going to do the movie only because I'm contractually obligated to, and that's it. I'm horrified at how quickly they fired this guy, and, I'm disappointed in them, and I'm only fulfilling contractual obligations here. I don't want to do this movie without him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, like everybody else kind of made statements, but he was like on Twitter, like, willing to die for this man, He was going to bat hard for him.
You got to love that kind of respect.
Yeah. So, this next trailer, I'm not as excited for, but it was interesting. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Looks like another Transformers movie.
I've never been in Transformers.
I really enjoyed the first one when it came out. I mean, you were 6.
Yeah, I was a little young.
Yeah. I've got like nostalgia wrapped up in it. You know what I mean? I can remember being at the theater and seeing the 3D poster for Disturbia, you know, the other Shia LaBeouf movie coming out at the time.
The only thing I remember from any of the Transformers was I think I saw it in the one in theaters.
I'm pretty sure there's a robot that changes into a car. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, but one of them, I think they're climbing on something, and it's a bunch of Autobots and Decepticons fighting. But one of them's like a crane that has like a wrecking ball on it. And when it turns, the two wrecking balls are nuts.
Yeah, they're climbing the fucking pyramids of Giza, and there's a transformer with just wrecking ball testicles. And it's like,
that's what I remember.
This is high art, you know. And then they take a fast and steep dive. The Transformers movies. It's like the first one's halfway decent, and then the rest are just garbage. Yeah. There's parts of them that are cool, you know, but majority not good. Even by the end, like
the new one did have like a bunch of new characters that they pulled from the original,
all the beasts,
cartoon shows too.
Yeah, and Optimus Prime looks the most like his cartoon version. They've still got Peter. I keep wanting to say Peter Gabriel. It's not Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel was in Genesis. Look up the gentleman who plays the voice of Optimus Prime. He is Peter Cullen. I don't need it. It's Peter Cullen.
There it is.
Oh fuck! I'm like I'm like an encyclopedia over here. Just Peter Cullen.
Thesaurus.
Just seeking my mind. I'm like the what are the precogs in Minority Report, just laying in the pool of water.
Your
Start
brain
having
is
a
just
seizure. Peter Cullen also played the voice of Eeyore.
Bingo.
So Optimus Prime, who's like this big booming beacon of hope and leadership, is also okay. That's voice acting, baby. But no, I mean, all I said was, looks like a Transformers movie. Doesn't have Mark Wahlberg, so
thumbs up.
Yeah, so far so good. I'm not sure if it's a continuation of the mainline movies, or if they're doing a soft reboot from Bumblebee, which was the plan initially. When they made Bumblebee, the plan was for Bumblebee to basically be like a reboot of sorts.
Sure.
We're like, all right, fuck it. We're going back to the basics. It's in the 80s. Everybody likes the 80s right now. It's Bumblebee as a VW bug. Right, I mean, it was like Stranger Things is hot right now. Let's get Haley Steinfeld. She's new and popular. Bumblebee. Everybody likes Bumblebee. Make him the VW bug. The whole thing's coming together. They had a fucking cool opening scene of the war on Cybertron.
Oh, yeah.
And then that was probably the best part of that movie. Like, I wanted more of that. Make a movie about the war for Cybertron.
Yeah.
Do that shit.
Yeah.
It costs too much money, but do it. Fucking do it. Oh, a little news story I saw right before we recorded. It's not mixed in here. Little aside. You need to relax. Apparently, Black Adam needed to make $600 million to break even, and it's looking like it's going to come in $50 to $100 million shy.
That's a shame, because
we were surprised at how we felt about it.
Yeah, like I didn't think it wasn't that bad.
I saw Morgan. I said it didn't need to be a box office like
blow up,
but like if it needed to make 6, it should have made 750.
Yeah,
enough to go. Okay, there's something there.
Yeah,
but it wasn't a $1 billion movie.
Do you think they're going to do anything with it anymore?
Maybe James Gunn will. With them in leadership, they might go, okay, need better writers. There's that it needs work, but there's potential there.
Yeah.
Because I think that seems to be the consensus, and just unfortunately, the marketing was not good on that.
No,
it was
I saw
very boring and bland.
I saw one of Dwayne Johnson walking, and he just had this ball of energy in his hand that was very poorly edited
CG'd,
in, and then he just throws it out in the distance, and it just says Black Adam, and I was like,
they were trying to sell it on Dwayne Johnson, and celebrity is waning as far as I've talked about it before, probably on the podcast. I'm star power isn't much of a thing anymore.
Yeah, and also Dwayne Johnson's audience is not the people who are going to be seeing it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of overlap between the Rock fans and Marvel fans, or DC, Marvel superhero movies. Not a lot of overlap there. Let's see here. Cocaine Bear.
God, yes.
It looks so
Yes.
fucking stupid.
Scott, is it Scott Sire? Scott Sear? He's the guy in the very beginning when he opens up the door and is just.
Oh yeah. And there's just a blood-soaked room.
He's a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
He doesn't, and I'm glad that I saw him in that. And I was like, oh,
There's quite a few. I said that the movie is very face heavy on the cast, where you're like, there's not like a name cast, you know, but there's a lot of. Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah.
I know that. Yeah, I know that girl. You figure Ray Liotta. I told you in the movie theater, I was like, this might be Ray Liotta's last movie that ever comes out.
oh yeah.
I'm like, oh no, is Ray Liotta's swan song Cocaine Bear? You know? Oh no. What did I say? Johnny Cash had Hurt. Ray Liotta has Cocaine Bear. Everyone's got their swan song, you know?
I hurt myself
today. You had Ansel. No, not Ansel. I can't pronounce the guy's name. He played Han Solo. Alden Ehrenreich. That's his name. Yeah. It's a bear. It's based on a true story. Obviously, it's been very Hollywooded up.
Right.
But it's a bear that eats cocaine.
And
like
just
a
goes
lot
on
of
a
it,
rampage.
and then is just jacked up on coke and goes on a killing spree in pursuit of more cocaine.
I mean, that sounds
yeah.
that sounds about right.
It's very much an action comedy. It fit well in front of Violent Night as a trailer.
Oh yeah.
Where like this is dumb and violent and funny.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
You're not going there to see like a tear-worthy performance,
No.
but you'll have fun maybe. You know. And in the same way, it looks like how I felt about Violent Night of like, there's a big swing. It's either going to be yes, or it's not going to be good.
And that's the thing is like we need more big swings.
We need more swings because like
everyone's just bunting it right now. We need someone to come in and knock a home run.
And to talk about without getting into our thoughts on Violent Night, we had talked about we weren't sure how it did at the box office. I looked up its budget. It was only a $20 million movie.
Really?
Yeah. So, like I've talked about, you need more mid-budget movies. The problem is, like, you've got too much $200 million movies where they're afraid to take a chance because that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then you're getting like a $5 million movie that you can't do a lot with.
Sure.
Potentially, you know, it's kind of destined to be a story heavy, and so you don't get like a fun comedy. We're like, there's 20 million. There's enough to do something with, but it doesn't have to be extravagant. You know. And so I was like, maybe. I hope this does well insofar as I want a mid-budget movie to succeed so that they go, okay.
With that knowledge, I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get into it.
Just a couple more things here. So last trailer for us is for The Last of Us. It got its official trailer.
Yeah.
And a couple things that I don't think you caught, and you might have seen it on Reddit or Twitter. Ashley Johnson, who plays Ellie, was in the trailer. She's playing Annie, Ellie's mother. You remember there's the shot in the trailer of a woman holding up a freshly born baby and crying? That was Ashley Johnson,
who
plays Ellie. So she gets to be Ellie's mother.
That's so cool.
Because I'd seen when they announced at the Summer Games Fest over the summer that her and Troy Baker were there to talk about The Last of Us Part 1 coming out. And they'd mentioned that they both got small parts in the movie, or in the show. And Troy Baker is playing one of David's goons, like his right-hand man.
I'll have to keep my eye out.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Ellie, we just kind of talked about. There's a scene where Joel and Tess and Ellie are standing around, and it must be right after he finds out that she's infected.
Yeah.
And he goes, she so much as twitches, and she starts tweaking.
Yeah.
And he kind of looks at her, and Tess is
like not a good time.
And she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and we were both like, that wasn't
was
in
very
the game,
Ellie.
but that was very on.
Yeah, that
character.
was on brand for Ellie.
Which I'm excited to see more of that.
Yeah. We did get to see, as far as like The Last of Us 1, we do now have, we've seen the full life cycle of the infected.
Yes.
Where in this trailer we got to see a stalker, crawling, on its hands and feet, which is like the in-between a runner and a clicker. Mm-hmm. And then we got to see a bloater at the very end.
Yeah, just...
Yeah, big fucking nasty guy. And then we got to see... we kind of see how they're incorporating the Left Behind DLC with Ellie and Riley.
Yeah.
Where like they're playing around in the mall. Did you play Left Behind?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you know.
I know the extent of it.
Yeah, the gist of it. And so, I mean, I think that'd be kind of interesting to see how they work that into the story.
Sure.
If they're gonna do because in the DLC it takes place. Obviously, the Ellie and Riley stuff takes place before the game, but it's kind of told in flashback.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's going to be told in flashback?
So I could see them doing it this way. So in the game, spoiler alerts for The Last of Us, because
Watch out.
Yeah, the show's definitely being made for people who haven't played the game, which I think is
Fair.
Yeah. Where like it's going to stay true to the game, but you don't have to have played the game to appreciate it.
Sure.
Which is a fair goal for one of the most expensive television shows ever made.
Right.
You know, it needs to appeal to a wide audience. Yeah. In the game, Joel falls and gets very seriously wounded right at the beginning of winter. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of does a jump to now it's the middle of winter. Mm-hmm. Well, The Last of Us Left Behind kind of fills in that gap a little bit where it's Ellie trying to take care of Joel. And she takes him into an abandoned mall. Yeah. And while she's there, she starts having like the flashbacks to her and Riley playing at the mall. And so it kind of cuts in between, you know, them just running through the mall, hanging out, and kind of seeing what happens there. And then her trying to protect Joel while they're on the run from the people that hurt Joel at the college. And so I wonder if they would do that in the show of like, this episode takes place between us seeing Joel get hurt, you know, and then there's that episode about her and Riley, you know, where it kind of still gives you that, oh, man, is Joel okay?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because in the game there is that little bit of cliffhanger of like, did Joel just die?
Yeah, is he gonna make it?
You know, especially because then they start you off in winter playing as Ellie. And you play as Ellie for a while before you go, okay,
Dude,
Joel must be
playing as
alive.
Ellie in the first one, that.
Yeah.
And then I'm excited. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, I'm just
it just
comes out January 15th, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
We got to hear "Take on Me" was in the trailer.
Yeah.
And that's the song that she sings to Dina in part 2. One. And then we got to hear just a couple notes of the main theme at the very end when they showed the title. Yeah. I was like, oh fuck. But yeah, so any more thoughts on The Last of Us?
No, I'm very excited. Honestly, I do think that they would be able to get away with doing it as flashbacks, like per episode, like giving you a little like tidbit of what's going on, then flashback. Maybe that's the episode. Yeah, that seems very fitting. I mean, like you just said, it was kind of in the game, so it could fit in a TV show for sure.
Yeah,
I'm very excited for it.
I am too.
I'm really, really excited.
And then The Mandalorian Season 3 is going to premiere on March 1st.
Yeah.
Which is great because that means that The Last of Us The Last of Us TV show should run right up to The Mandalorian. So we basically are going to get like almost 6 months of uninterrupted Pedro Pascal as a Papa figure, you know? And it makes me think of the interview he did where it's like the lie detector, and they ask him if he thinks he's a bigger daddy than Oscar Isaac. And he goes, well, he really is a daddy because he's got kids and I don't. But daddy's a state of mind. He goes, I'm your daddy.
I'm your daddy.
He's everyone's daddy.
Year of the Pascal.
Yeah. The year of the Pascal. Jedi Survivor is getting its world gameplay premiere on December 8th. That's this Thursday.
Yeah.
During the Game Awards. So there was a Steam posting that was taken down very quickly, but the Steam posting showed both pre-order bonuses as well as a release date of March 16th of 2023.
I saw the pre-order bonus.
Yeah. There's a blaster. And on the picture that they showed, he's got a blaster on his hip.
Yep.
And he's wearing like a vest.
The pre-order is...
Well, the pre-order is Han Solo's vest and blaster. Yeah, that's one of them. That's one of them.
Oh, I didn't know there were multiple.
Yeah. Han Solo's vest and blaster, and then
Obi-Wan's.
Yeah, and Anakin's lightsaber.
The one I had was had picked up.
Yeah,
was
that was my hoodie.
Close to Obi-Wan's lightsaber.
Yeah, because I saw 2 lightsabers, 2 blasters.
The one blaster I saw kind of looked like Rey's blaster. Yeah. The very polished
cylinder.
Yeah. But no, the Obi-Wan outfit, it went kind of hard.
Yeah,
I was like...
And there's no ponchos. Everybody was talking about that. It looks like it's vests instead of ponchos.
I like the ponchos.
I did too.
Whatever.
But if you can make the vest work, all right.
Make the vest work, I guess.
Yeah. Somebody was like, "Has Cal been juicing? Like he looks
yoked.
Yeah, he looks pretty strong.
Has he been juicing?
He's been training because you figure up until Jedi Fallen
If
Order,
I almost got my shit pushed in by Vader.
I'd be hitting the fucking bench hard.
Pumping the iron.
He's like, oh shit, I got work to do. Yeah, because he did. Yeah, that. I was so fucking mad at you. Can I tell people about this?
Yeah.
We were like, we had basically been trading off and on playing Fallen Order on my PlayStation. You bought the game, I owned the PlayStation.
Yeah.
So we just kind of like, all right, you play, I'll play. You play, I'll play. Well, you started it before me, I ended up beating it before you.
Yeah.
But you go, I'm like maybe 10 hours into the game, and you're like, I got a spoiler. Or it's not really a spoiler. Can I tell you one thing? I'm like, yeah. And you're like, I saw something. You fight Vader at the end. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? That is exactly a spoiler. He's like, how is it a spoiler? It's Star Wars. Of course Vader's going to be in it. I was like, was he in any of the fucking trailers or promotional material? And you're like, well, no. And I was like, then maybe it's a spoiler. And you're like, oh. And then, at the end when he shows up, I was like, you were sitting there, and I looked over at you, and I was like, that'd have been pretty fucking cool if I didn't know it was coming. You're like, I'm sorry.
I felt so bad, dude.
Like, Jesus Christ.
But like, dude, imagine how I felt. First off, realizing, fuck, I just spoiled it for Colin. And then two, going, fuck, I just spoiled it for myself.
Me. Yeah.
Like, this is just the worst. Really doubling down.
Yeah. But, oh, shit. Let's see here. Last thing. While being interviewed by Fan Nation.
Real trap shit.
David Harbour was asked about video games, and he went on to say, basically, the quote was, I actually have one coming out. Me and Jodie Comer did a video game. That'll be coming out, I think it's next year, a horror game. And so Jodie, if you don't know, Jodie Comer is the serial killer in the show Killing Eve on BBC. Pretty good show. Check that shit out.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, but she's also the female character in the Free Guy.
Oh, okay.
So she's kind of got some pretty decent stuff coming out of her, out of her corner there. But people are speculating that it could be the game, could be the next Dark Pictures anthology game, which is from the creators of Until Dawn. Because they've been, they have a tendency to use.
Yeah, because I heard
quote unquote proper
the quarry
actors.
flopped.
Yeah, the quarry apparently wasn't good, but I've heard pretty decent things about a lot of the Dark Pictures anthology games. Okay. So there's a lot of them out now. I think there's like 7 out, and I'm like, but they're all pretty relatively short.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like that was kind of their model was, what if we made a lot of shorter games to help get them out faster?
Right.
Which is fine. I think they're also cheaper. Where it's like, this one's $20 and it's only 5 hours, but it was only $20, and it still has like replayability as far as the choice and all that. It's very much an Until Dawn type game.
Right.
But I think that'd be pretty cool to see David Harbour doing that.
I like David Harbour.
Yeah. I mean, just in general, I like seeing. I mean, you figured Callisto Protocol just came out, and it's got Josh Duhamel in it.
I haven't. Okay, so as far as like the Callisto Protocol,
Yeah.
it came out. I heard a lot of people gassing it up, and then it came out, and it's been silent.
So I know that on PC it had kind of a rocky release.
Okay.
As far as like bugs with the Unreal Engine.
Okay.
But it sounds like it's already been patched and fixed. But I've heard pretty like, not mid things, like middle good, like 70, 80%.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Which, all right, that's not a bad score. If I got an 80 on a test, I'd be like, safe, safe. What is it? C's get degrees,
Yeah.
No, D's get degrees. But, yeah. I'm cool. I'm down with that. I want to see, like, I'm torn on the topic. I want to see, it's cool to see, like, a favorite actor in a video game because it kind of, like, legitimizes video games. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, see, actors are getting in on the action. But then also it's like, maybe let video game actors thrive in video gaming. You know what I mean? It's like when an actor goes in and does voice acting in a TV show or something like that and is just mid, And it's like,
You have legends like Mark Hamill.
right, yeah. Or, it's a me. Mario, you know,
It's a me, Mario.
and it's like, you know, there's a guy that did that voice, and is he still alive? Yeah. Like, you know, I bet he would have done it.
Yeah, did he have a response for any of that?
I'm not sure. I know that IGN has posted videos of like the trailers, but the voice is redone with the original Mario voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're pretty funny to like compare when you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
because yeah, it is very much just Chris Pratt.
Yep.
Like Chris Pratt's voice acting is really good in like the Lego Movie.
Sure.
But he is just doing Chris Pratt. But it's a a cartoonish and energetic version of himself. Whereas like Mario has a very specific voice, you know.
And that's just
It's
not
one
it.
of the most synonymous things with like my mom. If I went, it's a me, yeah, she would go, oh, it's Mario.
Mario.
You know what I mean? And my mom is not
It's
like
a me.
it's
Mario.
yeah, she'd go. Is that supposed to be Mario? You know what I mean? Like my mom, who doesn't do video games, would be like, that's not fucking Mario. You know what I mean? Get this shit off the screen. Get him out of here. But so that's all I had for news. Like I said, I tried to keep the news light since we had so much trailer to talk about. So if you're all right over there, are you starting to break into a dun 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 dun? I want to talk about Violent Night.
Yeah, let's talk about it, baby.
So Violent Night. We'll start with like we always do with the box office.
Yes.
Had a domestic box office weekend. Just came out on Friday of 13.4 million. With an international of 7.3 for a world total of $20.7 million.
So did it already? No.
On a budget of $20 million. So, you know, if you add marketing in, we'll call it $40 million.
Yeah.
So even still, it's only halfway there. But depending on how word of mouth does, it might make its money back.
Yeah.
Reception. Rotten Tomatoes critic score was 71, but the audience score was a 90.
Yeah.
IMDb was a 7.1 out of 10, and Metacritic had it at 55. So it was pretty divisive, especially when you look at like 71, 7.1, 55, and then the audience gave it a 90. I think it is definitely a movie meant for the audience.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's not
something to...
You know, I'm not going to write an essay on, the deeper meanings of Violent Night. Right. You know what I mean? So a little bit of the cast here. David Harbour is Santa Claus. John Leguizamo is the character known as Scrooge.
I think they say his name is Jimmy.
Jimmy or Johnny, yeah. Alex Hassel plays Jason Lightstone. He's kind of like the dad of the family. Alex Lauder is his wife, Linda. Eddie Patterson is Alva, which is his sister. And then Beverly D'Angelo is Gertrude, which Beverly D'Angelo, for people that don't know by name, is the mom from National Lampoon's Vacation. And she's something in this. And then either Leah or Leia Brady is Trudy, and then Alexander Elliott is Bert, which is the son, the nephew. I'll tell you. So. You have a plot synopsis?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you looked it up just now, didn't you?
I looked it up right before we started recording.
Yeah.
An elite team of mercenaries break into a family compound on Christmas Eve, taking everyone hostage inside. However, they aren't prepared for a surprise combatant. Santa
Claus.
Santa Claus is on the grounds, and he's about to show why this Nick is no saint.
I mean, the premise is so fucking dumb. Like I said, when I saw the trailer, I was like, this is either a banger or a bust. Like, there's no way this is going to be mid. It's either bad or good.
This Nick is no saint.
Yeah. When a group of mercenaries attack the estate of a wealthy family, Santa Claus must step in to save the day and Christmas. Hold on, I'll do my trailer voice. Let me see yours. Let me see your premise.
Yeah.
Because that's a good pun for the... Oh, shit, I ain't got no eyes. You're going to have to hit Control Plus on that bitch.
I don't know.
I got no eyes. You hit Control and then the plus button.
Hold on, Control, slow down.
Plus.
Control.
Give me like 2 more of those. 1 more. Boom. All right, here it is. Trailer voice. An elite team of mercenaries breaks into a family compound on Christmas Eve, taking everyone hostage inside. However, they aren't prepared for a surprise combatant. Santa Claus is on the grounds, and he's about to show why this Nick is no saint.
Coming to theaters near you.
Yeah, Violent Night. Rated R, you know.
How do I have to do control minus?
Bingo. Dude, it's so intuitive.
Okay, where's the minus?
It's the one that looks like a line. It is not far from the plus. In fact, I believe it is next to it. Bingo. All right, we're in. So, spoiler-free plot thoughts. You want to start? You want me to start?
You typically start.
All right.
I don't know. It's just the way the cookie
rhythm.
crumbles. Yeah.
It's the rhythm. So, I just said that Santa is a drunk who seems to have given up on Christmas a little bit, where he's pretty dejected with how greedy the world is. I think the story's pretty basic, but that's not a negative in this case. The movie doesn't really need too much plot. I think if you tried, it kind of turned into like a Godzilla thing.
Which we got to talking about.
Yeah.
Was like, which we'll get into more later on.
The spoiler stuff, but I think you would, if you got too heavy in the story, you would run into like the Godzilla issue of like, I came here to see monsters fight. Why are you bogging this down with the heroes, or, with the human stories? I came here to see Santa fuck people up.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me too caught up in family drama.
And they delivered on that.
Yeah, you look like you're about to yak. Are you good? Mm-hmm. Were you struggling with some of that?
A little bit. The burp was a little heavy.
You were just like, I was like, oh, don't puke on the mic. Whatever you do, don't puke on the mic.
No, it was just a little heavier of a burp, and I just kind of had to sit up straight for it.
It's like, oh, we're going to cut. He's going to yak. I think it does a good job of balancing the action and comedy. And not taking itself too seriously, while also managing to commit fully to the bit enough to sell it. Mm-hmm. Where, like, it knows that it's a silly, stupid premise.
Right.
And doesn't shy away from that fact. Like, they give us a little bit of Santa lore.
Yeah.
That, like, we'll talk more about, but I was pretty intrigued. I would like to know a bit more about.
Yeah.
And then in that same vein, it uses some of Santa's traditional lore in interesting ways.
I have a market here.
Mm-hmm.
Do not let me forget. I have a funny theory I want to suggest, but it has to be after spoilers.
Okay. Funny theory.
Yes.
All right. So
suggestion.
Yeah.
More
so what do you think about some of the plot thoughts?
As far as the plot is pretty simple. I will say they do a really good job of keeping you in tune with everything. Mm-hmm. Like, it
was 2 hours, right? And it didn't feel too long.
No. Everything's pretty vague to the point where, like, you don't have to, you're not really trying to read into it.
Right, yeah.
Right. And it's just like, okay, yep, you're following through, following through. And they focus on some more of the plot points that, of the movie itself, of Violent Night.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah.
And, like, it's weird because it's like a pretty, they keep it short, but they give you what you want. Like,
I mean, there's not a lot of story to talk about.
Yeah.
So characters and chemistry. Mm-hmm. I thought David Harbour plays a good Santa Claus.
Absolutely.
If that Santa had a dark past and was an alcoholic.
Yes.
Like, he is not your ho 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 Merry Christmas.
There's a couple times where he
does hit a ho ho ho.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't play it off as like a full on ho ho ho. It's like Trudy, the daughter, she manages to not be an annoying kid.
No,
which
not at all.
For me is hard for child actors, especially that small, to not be like I get it, but
right.
Get him out of here. Yeah. I think about
get the shit off the screen.
I think about the kid from Black Adam. Annoyed the shit out of me, kid. But then on the flip side, you get the little girl that played Leia in Obi-Wan.
That's very true.
So maybe little girl actresses are better at being a child actor than boys.
That could be it.
I don't know, man. Maybe that's too broad a brush to stroke with, to paint with. Too broad a brush stroke. That's what I'm trying to say.
Settle down in this.
Mom, Beverly D'Angelo is an absolute monster in this movie. Like, our introduction to her, she straight up calls someone a cocksucker on the phone. Like, I mean, I think that's something that we can spoil a little bit because it's not, It's nothing detrimental, but she's just being a goblin to somebody on the phone. I believe she uses the word twat. I mean, she's using
Right in front of Trudy.
pretty strong language on the phone with somebody, and she ends the conversation by like, "Yes, thank you very much, Merry Christmas, Senator." You know, and you're like, Jesus.
How are you gonna talk to a senator like that?
Oh, I don't know if I should have just straight up yelled the word cocksucker. That's pretty abrasive, even for the podcast.
Nah, that's fine.
Yeah. Maybe put a little disclosure in the beginning. You're about to hear the CS words, you know.
The full thing.
Yeah, but
Merry Christmas, yeah. Merry Christmas, Senator.
yeah, Merry Christmas, Senator. You're like, whoa, she's just talking that way to a senator, and like it sounds like he's got this person on the ropes, you know, or she's got this person on the ropes. But I hate Jason's family. Like his mom, his sister, his not his brother-in-law. It sounds like maybe they're just dating. But the guy that his sister is dating.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's a douche.
Yep.
And then her son, mega douche.
Yep.
Mom is just a monster, as I said.
Yeah.
His family sucks, and that's kind of a plot point as well. Is like the conflict that causes within his family of like, I hope you know that your family sucks. You know.
Ass.
Yeah, and he's like, I know. Apparently, they're like what is it? They're like the richest private citizens.
Something like that.
Yeah, the way I listed my notes, the sister's boyfriend is a bit much for me. Sometimes, like, as far as like, he feels somehow too silly of a dumb character. You know what I mean? Where like his whole bit is that he's a dumb actor, but like sometimes it's like okay, like they made him cartoonishly dumb.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, I think this guy would know how to tie his shoes. You know what I mean?
He reminds me. Oh, you haven't seen it. He reminds me of the Deep in The Boys.
I've seen The Boys. I mean, I've seen the first season.
Sure. Yeah,
And so yeah,
he makes me think of
definitely
a little bit
of that.
of the Deep. Very
If the
full,
Deep was
very,
dumber.
Yeah, very full of himself.
Yeah.
In that way.
And then I said same with the Son. Like the Son is very much a caricature of a chronically online, Gen Z.
It's what boomers would write in the comic books on newspapers of what teenagers would be.
Yeah. And then the sister too, like very much just groveling at her mother's feet.
Yeah.
David Harbour and John Leguizamo really kind of carry the movie.
Yeah.
John Leguizamo is a great actor. Did you ever see the
Romeo and Juliet?
Romeo and Juliet? Yeah. He's great in that. He's Mercutio in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they pull out they draw their swords and
Yeah.
the guns.
Yeah. But what are your characters' chemistry thoughts on that? Spoiler free.
As far as it goes with, I liked it. Because you get told in the very beginning that Jason Lightstone and his wife, what was her name? Linda.
I don't think they're divorced, but
they're splitting.
Separated.
Yeah, they are separating, and they didn't make that feel very real.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, they were getting in the car and they're like, thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing it for you.
For you, yeah.
And so I was like, it felt real. And then,
and like the fact that Trudy could see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it felt real enough for me to buy it.
Yeah.
There are certain points here and there as
yeah.
But I mean, again, you're not focusing.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, you're not focusing on it.
Yeah.
But then same thing, everything you're saying with like the sister, the brother-in-law, and the nephew. Yeah. The nephew was a little shit. Like but a really underrated character we need to talk about is Krampus.
Yeah, the guard.
The guard. Should we talk about that later?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as far as like non-spoilers, I mean, yeah, everyone was good. Meeting Gingerbread, because you do meet Gingerbread pretty early on.
Yeah, he's kind of the muscle guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His character's just a little funny.
What was his name? Hans?
Yeah.
He's the German guy.
Real tall, yeah.
Yeah.
With the white beard and everything. And I did like how we'll talk about it in spoilers. We'll talk about it in spoilers.
Yeah.
But no, I liked all the chemistry, especially with David Harbour and Trudy. That did feel very real.
He felt the most like Santa Claus when he was talking to Trudy.
Yeah, because there were points where it's like, he's given up on Christmas, right? He's this drunk piece of shit. But like, he sees Trudy and he's just kind of like,
this little girl
she still really believes.
Yeah.
So he kind of
which is part of why he's like willing to do all this stuff.
And so being able to see that chemistry was really good.
Yeah. So then I think it's time to rate this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do we rate stuff around here?
So you can be, overwhelmed, which means you were thoroughly enjoyed with the film. Your expectations were met. You can be underwhelmed, which means you weren't quite satisfied with the film. There's, a lot of things that you found not good.
Yeah.
Or you can always just meet in the middle and just be simply whelmed.
Yeah. So I was overwhelmed.
Yeah, I was definitely overwhelmed.
Because I had pretty mixed hopes and then fears.
I really didn't expect anything.
Yeah.
That's just, I kind of went in, I was like, I really don't know what to expect out of this. When was the last time I've seen a Santa movie come out that was good past Elf?
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, when the premise is Santa, but he is effectively violent.
Right.
You know what I mean?
This is just a totally new ballpark.
Yeah. John Wick-esque, but not John Wick, not as graceful as John Wick, I'd say, it was very much in the same vein as Die Hard.
Yeah.
Of he's just scrapping together what he can, and it's a Christmas action movie, rated R, He didn't say yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, but he could have,
He could have, and I would have been like, that's fitting.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, I mean, it's a weird movie because, the only thing to spoil in it is, action scenes.
Yeah.
And it's a car driving by.
Scared the piss out of
I know.
me.
I thought the porch light came on. I was like...
Well, I thought the shadow...
Oh, I thought the shadow was somebody standing there? No, I thought the porch light came on. I was like... Just...
Hello?
No. So, Santa was a Viking raider before he was Santa Claus. And his name was Nicked in the Red. He wielded a hammer called Skull Crusher.
Yeah, he did.
The way they reveal that was really cool because he has his first little skirmish where he kind of gets cut in the stomach, and he goes to hide away and doctor himself up. And when he takes his jacket and shirt off, he's got the Viking runes all over his chest and shoulders and arms
and back.
And I looked at you and I went, is he a Viking?
And I was
and
like,
I think he
might be a Viking.
And then he does just have the briefest little
flashback,
and you see him in a ruined village, and he's wearing the Viking helmet with the long
red
wet hair,
yeah.
And you're like, oh,
he's
a Viking.
Yeah.
He is a Viking.
He's a raider.
Yeah, and that was kind of cool. Action wise, let's start at the beginning because you really enjoyed the beginning. When he's at the English pub in London.
Oh, my God, yeah.
He's tying a couple on, and he just gets shit-faced.
Right, yeah.
He's eating walnuts.
Yeah, he's eating walnuts, just drinking, and then, another, Santa comes in and sits down and is
kind of, bullshit.
Yeah, making small talk, and he's like, well, put his beers on me, because he's saying how he doesn't want to do it. Yeah, he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, well, I better get out of here. He gets up to go leave, and then he heads up to the roof, and the
bartender's like,
shit, I got to go run down and grab him.
If he kills himself, I'm in trouble.
She runs up there on the roof, and he sees that he's actually in the sleigh flying away. And
she has that
all amazed. And then it just hard cuts to the Santa Claus
just ralphing over the side of the sleigh.
I mean, it lands just perfectly
all over her fucking head and shoulders.
And there's rice in it. And you can tell this man's been eating food and
just the whole time he's been drinking and eating and drinking, and just he yacked on it. And that's a funny little montage of him flying over places and he's taking a piss over DC off the side of the sleigh. He's steering with a foot, at one point.
Foot over the sleigh.
Yeah.
He's all comfy.
He's kicked back. At one point, he shotguns a beer while he's flying, and, because somebody's even should you be driving like that? And he's like, no, the reindeer know where they're going.
I steer a little bit, but the reindeer
do most of the work, And it's true. He is just fucked up, and he's flying the sleigh, and he's stumbling around. I don't like seeing him eat the cookies and drink the milk and spit the milk back in the cup. He's like, ugh, this has just been sitting out, And at the one point, he's like, skim, what the hell, And and then there's a sad little beat where he's in a really slummy house, and dad is drunk and passed out in the recliner. And there's a girl that's a little too old to be in a what do you call
crib.
A crib, laying in a crib, and he kind of like lays the gift next to her in there, and then he goes over and he takes the 6-pack of beer off of Dad's lap, and it's like, all right, this is mine.
And then he lays a lump of coal for him.
Yeah, and you're like, oof, yeah, rough.
Yikes.
But yeah, so he gets to Trudy's grandmother's house, where John Leguizamo and his crew have taken over the house, killed all of the staff,
Yeah.
and have rounded the family up in the family room.
We get a quick snippet when when Jason Lightstone and his family pull up to the
gate.
compound, and we see Al, who
Yeah,
we're introduced to, and they kill
gatekeeper.
him really quick right off the rip.
Shoot him right in the forehead.
And like this guy was very wholesome and
it felt like a character that might get away,
right? And like because they talking to him, they're like,
he's real
having a
sweet.
good Christmas, and he goes, or Trudy asks, what do you want for Christmas?
And he goes, to not work on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, but I must have been naughty because here I am. And so you're thinking like, oh,
he's a
funny
sweet
guy,
guy,
right? And then just gets shot right in the
Shot
head,
in the forehead,
just quick.
And you're like,
And I was like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah. So, they've rounded all the Lightstones up, and John Leguizamo's plot is basically that the grandmother basically stole $300 million from the U.S. government.
Yep.
And is hiding it in a vault in her basement.
As one does.
And you're like, oh shit! And they want that money, right? So they're working on the vault and all that stuff. And Santa was there delivering presents when they started shooting. And he's like, what the fuck? And he kind of snooping around.
He fell asleep in
he fell asleep in the massage chair.
He
drank. What does he say? Yeah, he drinks the bourbon that's like from 1938. He's like, this is some pre-war shit.
Pre-war shit.
And he dumps the milk in the ice bucket and then just pours the fucking bourbon in the still kind of milky glass and is drinking that. He's like, oh, it's good. Oh.
And he just got the homemade cookies.
Goes and plops his ass down in the massage chair.
He takes a bite and he goes,
oh, homemade.
Homemade.
Yeah, and he's just a pig. He's just sitting in the massage chair, drinking his bourbon, eating his cookies, and just
he passes out.
Zonks. And he wakes up to gunfire. And like, what the fuck, And he just goes snooping, And he's like, oh, shit, I got to get out of here. Yeah, I mean, he's just
this
trying
place
to
is hot.
Yeah, and he's trying to go up the chimney, and he has to, like, touch his nose to make his magic work so he can suck up the chimney.
But it wasn't working.
It wasn't working because he's probably, drunk and doesn't have the Christmas spirit in him, So he ends up getting cornered, hiding behind a Christmas tree, and the person's like, come out of there. And he gets into a fight. And it's a pretty good fight as far as, like, feeling scrappy, where it's not like, oh, yeah, that's where it's not John Wick.
Right.
John Wick is very, like, efficient, lethal.
Yeah.
Whereas this was just, like, a brawl.
Yeah, these guys are just fighting for their lives.
Yeah, it's life and death, And, fighting over the gun, and then the gun fires into the ceiling and almost hits his reindeer.
Yeah,
and the reindeer
fly off.
So he's fucking stuck. And he fucking ends up throwing the guy out the window.
And he gets impaled
on, like, an icicle decoration.
It looks like a decoration.
It's decoration.
Okay.
And, and he's like, oh, shit, and he picks up his cookies. He's like, well, gotta find a way
get out of here.
Yeah, and he kind of starts to flee the scene, And he wanders into a basement. Because doesn't he decide that he needs to call for help?
Yeah.
He's looking for a phone. He's like, I better call 911 or something, He's in the basement, and, it's like the game room. And he hears a walkie. No. So he's in the basement, and that person comes in to fight him again.
Yeah.
And that's where he's got he's getting his shit kind of kicked.
Yeah,
and he gets thrown over the pool table, and he grabs the stocking.
Dude, yeah.
And fills it with the pool balls. And then just whipping the shit out of this guy.
Shit out of him
until the stocking tears and he loses the balls and like, fuck. And then he starts getting kicked again. And his like Hail Mary is he just stabs the guy in the eye with the tree topper star and then plugs it in and it electrocutes him so hard that his head bursts into flames.
I will say that acting right there was, I thought it felt very real when he first stabs him and the guy like instantly shoots back and he's like screaming, but the way his hands are shaking, like he's like he can't touch it because that was good. Good acting, I thought.
Yeah, and then like I said, he plugs it in and it zaps the guy so hard that his head bursts into flames, and we were like, "Gee!" I think you laughed.
Yeah, because he scalped them.
Yeah, his fucking head just burst into flames.
Starts to Ash.
Ash, and you're like, Jesus. And then just gets on the walkie talking to Trudy. Because Trudy's got herself a little walkie where Mom and Dad were trying to make up for the letter to Santa, you know.
Yeah, because they didn't go to the mall. Or...
Yeah, you know, and so she's trying to talk to Santa, you know.
Yeah.
And they told her, you know, he probably won't answer because he's busy, but, you know, little do they know Santa's on the grounds, you know. And, so Santa picks up and is like, hello? She's like, is this Santa? And he's like, yeah, it is actually, you know. Who's this? And she's like, it's Trudy. And he pulls out his naughty nice list. And, yeah, it's kind of neat the way it is. It's, like, almost holographic, you know.
Yeah.
Like, when he opens it, it just kind of forms and says naughty or nice and what the good deeds they had done or the bad deeds. And, you know, it's like, hers was like, always listens to parents and loves animals and is sweet to animals. And, you know, she's just a good girl, you know. And so he's like, she's nice. She's on the nice list. I got to help her. And she's basically like, you know, the only thing I want for Christmas is that you get my mommy and daddy back together and that can you help us?
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, yeah, all right. Yeah. I got you.
I'll help you, but I can't.
I don't know if I can get your parents back together. That's not how I work, but I'll save you. And so it's like, all right, well, I got to get this girl out, you know. Some stuff happens. She ends up hiding in the attic.
Yeah.
You had a fun theory that you didn't want to forget about.
Oh, yeah. Second Violent Night theory confirmed.
Okay.
Santa Claus comes back and he's no longer Santa Claus. But he still has the naughty or nice list. But if you're naughty, he just comes and kills you.
He just is like a hitman, but for the naughty list.
Let's confirm that right now. It's just trademark.
It's called, you know, Violent Night 2, naughty list, you know. Naughty or nice, I don't know, you know.
It's called Ragnarok.
Violent Night 2, Ragnarok. And it's just him bringing about the end times. But, so he decides he's got to help Trudy. Mm-hmm. And there's this premise that's set up of... that he's like, she hides in the attic, and she's like, I could set booby traps like
Home Alone.
Like Home Alone. That's a fun movie. And he's like,
sure,
yeah. If you can do that, you know, if you can do that, you know,
do it
safely,
quietly. Yeah,
go ahead. And so she's like, okay, you know. Well, he ends up getting captured, and she starts sprinkling snow down through the ceiling. Styrofoam is the snow, yeah. And it distracts them long enough that he can escape.
Yeah,
you know, she actually kind of saves him, and. That's when they kind of are all starting to realize that this guy might legitimately be Santa Claus. Oh, and I forgot to mention, in his fights, he's using his bag.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that was some of the stuff that I thought was interesting, where he's got his bag that you just reach your hand in, and a gift materializes in your hand. You know,
yeah.
And so he's kind of grabbing gifts out and just trying to hopefully find
like
something useful.
Yeah, he's like, what? Nobody wants a sword
or
a bat
anymore. Yeah. You know, because I think he does eventually find a golf club.
Yeah.
And uses that for a little bit, and then it starts getting used on him, you know? They're just clubbing him in the head. But, so they burn his bag, and he's like, fuck, you know, shit, you know, that's my bag or whatever. And he, you know, manages to twinkle his nose and go out the chimney.
Get out and escape.
And he's hiding on the roof when the extraction team shows up. And the extraction team is supposed to be working for the light stands to come save them. They've been bought off.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in on it. It's an inside job. And, they kill the fucking brother-in-law, the actor. And I was like, good, you know?
Yeah.
Thank God, he's a tool. And your character, what's his name? Krampus?
Krampus. Yeah. Krampus is just this little fucking tool psycho killer.
He's a sociopath.
Yeah, he's just this weird guy. And
at one point, they need a volunteer to torture Jason. And they're using a nutcracker on his fingers.
Yeah, and then twist.
They break that finger hard.
Yeah, like not only do they crush it, but then they twist it and drop it.
Yeah, and so that finger's
done.
That's done. And there's a bigger nutcracker, and John Leguizamo's like, "Now it's not a finger cracker, is it? You know, let's get his nutcracker. I forget what he calls them. You know, like his nards or something. You know." Yeah. Get him out, and she's like, I'm not touching his junk, you know? And then he's like, all right, well, I need somebody to do it. It doesn't have to be her, you know? And Krampus is like, I'll do it. You know? I've never done it before. I'll do that, you know? And so they're very close to putting his testicles in the nutcracker. I was waiting on them to do it.
I would have been so squeamish.
Yeah.
Like, just the thought of just
literally crushing a testicle.
Oh.
Yeah. And so they almost do it, and that's when Trudy kind of speaks up and saves
daddy's
testes.
loins.
Saves the family jewels. You know, is your battery dying?
Choose backup options to protect your pictures and documents.
No, pass.
No, thank you.
I'm good. So yeah, they Krampus is a
a sociopath. Krampus is a sociopath. So the extraction team gets there, and that was kind of a neat thing, was he's got his naughty list, and that's how he knows how many he's got to take out, and the naughty list just grows.
Yeah.
So he's like, shit, And that's when he sneaks away, because they've just used a mounted machine gun and are just firing at his position on the roof. And he rolls off the roof, kind of eats shit, and is like, and hobbles his way into like a shed
house.
or like a pool house. Yeah, I didn't gather exactly what the room was, because it had like sporting material, sporting goods, and
It could have been a shed.
also had like outdoor, like your gardening tools and stuff. So I don't know, but he is hiding in there, and he gets on the walk, and he's telling Trudy like, "This is it, baby. Like, pretty sure I'm done, because there's just too many of me. I'm staying." And he kind of tells her who he was, that he was a bad guy, and she's like, well,
What if you use your bad?
What if you use your bad for good?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know, man. She's like, come on, Sam. You help the bad, you help the kids that need help. What do you want for Christmas? He's like, I just want to see Mrs. Claus one more time. She's like, well, then you better
make that happen.
Better make that happen. You better go home and see her. And he drops his ring, and it rolls away, and he's chasing it, and it settles against a sledgehammer after he's just been, waxing
Talking
poetic about Skullcrusher and how gifted he was with his warhammer. And you're like, it's funny because there's a trailer in front of the movie for a movie called like Plane, and it's got Mike Coulter, who played, in the Netflix Marvel shows, Luke Cage.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's got a sledgehammer in that trailer, and I was like, something about a dude just beating men to death with a sledgehammer.
It's just appeasing.
Seems appealing. Yeah. And I was like, so when he sees that sledgehammer, I was like, oh. And it's just a funny shot.
It's just slow motion. Him
just, like, practicing
wielding the sledgehammer.
Hammer. And what did I say? Gracefully, he was spinning it around on his hands like the weird kid in class with a pen,
like the pen.
Flipping the pens, and he's just flipping it around behind his back, above his head, side to side, and he's got his hair tied back.
He's got it in a bun.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, he's getting ready to go to work, And he sets up an ambush that is like, it was John Wick in the house. Yeah. You know what I mean?
He puts a candy cane in his mouth and sucking on it.
So he's at first he's beating the hell out of them all with the sledgehammer. They come sneaking in, and he's just fucking them up. I mean, their heads are like the first guy, he just cracks on the top of the head. Yeah. And you see blood spray out his helmet.
And just lands all on him.
And you're like, oh my God. And he's like clubbing people in the chest with it.
Yeah, he's breaking people's legs.
Yeah, that second guy. He cracks the one guy's head, and then does a downward swing and just hits the side of his knee, and the leg just buckles. And we were like, we were squeamish. There was some squeamy violence.
Yeah, oh my God.
Holy shit. And he's working these guys over. With like their own guns, and then and he's just beating the shit out of these guys, and he hides away in a room real quick, locks himself up, and he's got to sneak away, regroup, draw them in, and that's when he puts the giant candy cane in his mouth and is just sucking on it. And as they come into the room, he beats the first few up with the hammer, and then pulls the candy cane out of his mouth, and it's just been sucked to a point.
Yeah.
It is a prison shiv, and he uses it as such. I mean, he's stabbing the fuck out of these guys in like the femoral artery. He's stabbing them in the neck repeatedly. The first guy he stabs like in the cheek, and it goes through his mouth out the other cheek.
Yeah.
And the three of them like grab him and pin him to the wall,
and then
stabs the one guy in the neck, and then takes it out and just like
in his shoulders like 12 times in one spot.
That was very prison style, like in the chow line, just. And he just kills them hard.
Yeah.
And then like the next wave is coming in, and we got to giggling because he is massacring these people.
Yeah.
And it kind of
fucking them up.
Cuts to outside to like the Overwatch basically. And he's got his screen up, and they've got their body cams on, and you just see people going off.
Yeah. No signal. No signal.
And he's like, somebody fucking talk to me. What's going on in there? And it's just Santa slaughtering these guys.
Breaks out of the doors.
Well, because. He sets himself in the corner, and you see him like grab the rope. He's sneaking around, and he turns on the snowblower.
Oh my
and
God!
Puts the skis on his hands, and just starts punching these people with blades in his hands.
I mean,
he ends up
spilling their
decapitating
guts.
one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he guts somebody, and then he stabs a guy repeatedly in the face and neck.
And then one of them, he punches so hard it hits into the stud of the wall behind him.
Yeah.
And he lets go of
the guy's body just slides down the wall.
Shoe's still in the
wall with his head resting on it. And we were like, fuck.
Fucking
and then he lassos a couple of guys' necks and then throws the end of the rope into the snowblower.
And
it's one of the big, like, industrial strength with a big auger on it. And it just draws him in. You see blood spraying out the spout.
Just guts falling out.
You're like, holy hell.
Christ.
Yeah, and he comes out, and that guy's like, the guy that's on Overwatch is like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
And then he throws the sledgehammer at him.
He just overhands the sledgehammer, drills him in the back like an axe throw, and then just runs over. And the guy tries to do a suicide, take him out with a grenade.
He grabs the
grenade and just stuffs it up his ass. And he goes to run away, and he's like, I gotta watch, He turns around, and the guy just, poof, that's when he does yeah, so he's a monster.
Yeah.
And he goes, and mom and the aunt and the son-in-law, or the nephew, kill Krampus.
Yeah, they
by
beat the piss
beating
out
the
of him.
shit out of him with, like, the fire tools, the fireplace tools. And, like, the sister ends up stabbing him in the neck with the fire poker.
Yeah, because they beat him to the point
Pretty
where
hard.
he becomes unconscious, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Is he dead?
Is he dead?" And they kind of, like, nudge him, and, like, you just hear, like, a wet meat, like...
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, he's pretty dead.
And he sits up real
Like,
quick.
Mow!
Just
Stabs him really
right
hard
through
in the neck. And you're like, yeah, now he's dead.
And then Trudy sets up those booby traps.
Yeah.
And, like, she has two people come up, and the first guy...
Peppermint and
Gingerbread.
Gingerbread's like sees that there's just a silly, very
It's a
obvious
welcome mat, and it has like a bunch of
nails and screws and razor blades sticking
yeah.
through it, and they're like, yeah, nice try, kid.
Yeah.
Step over it, and
then
then there's just a
one,
single nail in one of the steps
like
on the
Home
ladder.
Alone.
Yeah, and
but
he's
then
like,
the one above it, she booby
she
traps.
sawed, she cut it so that
so
when
the
you step
second
on
you
it, it
step on
buckles.
it, it breaks.
And he does. He's like, they're like laughing at her. And I like that. It's about to happen just before it happens. Like, I saw that she'd saw that, and I was like, oh! And yeah, he steps on that. It
But
breaks.
then he fumbles, misses the step, and his jaw gets impaled by that nail.
Yeah.
And it's just like
sticking out of his mouth.
My.
And you're like, oh, God. And he's screaming, and she's like, you're fine. You'll be
and
all
then
right.
she gets up and crawls on
Over
top
him.
of him and over him.
And then Trudy's waiting up there with, like, a bunch of bowling balls rigged up to
and she
bounce
just,
down the stairs.
Drops this rope.
And she's fucking hitting that chick with the bowling balls. One of them just nails her in the crotch,
Right.
Hits her in the fucking head, and you're like, Jesus, just beating this poor girl. And one of them, he picks himself up enough that he gets
he
the
picks
thing
himself up, and then one of them comes,
Hits him in the face.
and he falls on the mat,
on
his
the mat.
ass.
Yeah, his ass and
And
lower
just
back.
gets ripped up, and then
He's screaming and gets himself off finally.
And then he gets up and he pulls out the nail and he's
Yeah.
looking at it.
Yeah,
and
like,
the
God
bowling
damn.
ball falls in, like, from the hatch where she dropped the rope and just right in the skull, right in the,
Knocks the
right
hand,
between the eyes.
square, or
Oh,
the screw right into his forehead. Poor guy. Then he falls back onto the mat again when he dies. And she ends up tripping Peppermint,
yeah.
and she falls into, like, basically a glue trap for mice, but big. And she's like, her boots are stuck, and she's kind of like, nice try, kid. And then she's hitting her with the balls.
Yeah, and then what is she? Was it like a
A fucking dumbbell.
yeah.
And it knocks her backwards,
And
and she lands on her head.
Yeah, but like she's still standing
like,
up.
kinda stuck in, like, a
she's bent
scorpion
all the-
pose.
Yeah, all the way back, and she rips
Pushes herself off and scalps the back of her head.
Oh, and
we
like
were
you
like,
see
oh,
the
you see the skull.
and I was like, oh my
God.
god.
And and she's stepping up to Trudy, and Trudy kind of stuns her with another hit.
Yeah.
And Santa Claus steps out and just catches her in the chest with a hammer and sends her zooming backwards. You're like, Jesus.
You were gonna kill an innocent little girl.
Yeah, he tells Trudy, why don't you turn around and cover your eyes and ears and
Start
sing
singing
jingle bells
bells
as loud as you can. So she's just in the background, jingle bells, jingle bells. As he's just stepping over to her with a hammer in tow.
Yeah.
And
And then cuts to black right as
he swings down on her. And and then pretty much the crux is they're getting out of there. The bad guys are trying to get out of there with the money. And Santa takes a what do you call that? one of the snowmobiles.
Snowmobile.
And is chasing them.
And he's just
bobbing
and weaving through
dodging
the trees.
gunshots as he's zipping.
Serpentine.
Catches up to him. John Leguizamo has posted up, right?
right in front of a stump.
Right in front of a stump, yeah. And he's basically trying to draw Santa
taunting
in.
him.
Santa falls for it and guns it at him. John Leguizamo, dips to the side. He hits the stump and just goes flying
into an old abandoned cottage.
Yeah, an abandoned house there. And John Leguizamo lights the building up, and he's kind of staying low, right? John Leguizamo comes in and is like firing pistols. He's doing a bunch of mag dumps on him, basically, missing Santa Claus. And they get into a tussle, end up knocking themselves out. The fucking snowmobile blows up. So now it's just Santa Claus and John Leguizamo, who has like an ice, like the ice climbing axe.
Yeah, the
ice
Laura
axe.
Croft has.
Yeah, the climbing axe and the he's got a, what do you call those? The telescopic baton.
Oh yeah,
what is that? It's an asp.
Yeah,
and so it's that, and Santa's got his hammer, and there's just a fire behind him. It was very the Northman. We even said we're like Santa's Northman.
Confirm.
And and so they're just fighting in this fiery background, and there's ice all on the ground. And John Leguizamo has
ice boots on.
Yeah, he's got ice boots
spikes on him.
And so the ice cleats. And so he's fine, but Santa's slipping and sliding and shit. And Santa's getting fucked up
A little bit.
And there's just the remnants of the fireplace there. And I kind of was like, oh, he's going to get away somehow.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. And then as it's getting ready to happen again,
it's-
he's going to drag him up the chimney.
Yep.
Because they even make the comment earlier, like, you wouldn't fit up that chimney, It's like, well, it's magic,
It's just Christmas magic. I don't know how it works.
And John Leguizamo's got him pinned and is like stabbing the hell out of him. And he like pins his hand with the ice axe or with the climbing axe. Santa rips his hand out of the axe.
Yeah.
So he tears his hand up, grabs a hold of John Leguizamo and was like, this little nose blow, and pulls him up the fucking chimney. And John Leguizamo just gets...
Is a torso. That's it.
He's a torso with no limbs, no
Yeah.
head, and is just gushing blood. And Santa throws his corpse on the ground as he's laughing. And then he just gets fucking lit up.
Yeah,
gets shot
by,
like 7 times
one of the
by
guards.
the extraction team leader. And then, the mom, the Gertrude, shoots him. And then, Santa's dying, and they all believe in Santa by the end, and their belief brings them back, and, it's all
Hunky
the meaning
dory.
of Santa, the meaning of Christmas or whatever.
Saved.
Right? And, all in all, that was pretty much the wrap up of the movie. Was like, they all believe in
Everyone
Santa
lived
Claus,
happily
and
ever after.
hopefully they learned a lesson. Right? It goes as cliche as Santa's getting cold, and so they got to warm him up.
Yeah, with
and so they
the spirit of
burn the money.
Yeah.
They're so not greedy now that they burn their money to warm Santa Claus, and Santa lives, and it's like this weird saccharine sweet like. Oh, I believe in Santa. As Santa's sitting there like with a sucking wound in his chest. Just from gunshot wounds and being stabbed.
He gets shot like
7 or 6 times.
He just emptied the mag on him.
Yeah. And so Santa's been shot, stabbed, beaten. He's taking a hit.
Yeah.
And then he gets up, and then the reindeers come back to pick him up, and they've got Skull Crusher with a note from
that
Mrs.
says,
Claus.
Yeah, you might be needing this,
I thought
Mrs.
you might
C.
need this, Mrs. C, and it's just Skull Crusher. You're like, shit.
She was in on it.
Yeah, she was like, you're gonna need to kill some people with his hammer. But I thought I was overwhelmed. I loved it.
No, I was.
I wasn't expecting to love it. I loved it.
Yeah, I was not expecting to like it as much as I did.
Yeah, but that's all I got. Any more thoughts on the movie before we move on?
No, I
Pretty much covered it.
yeah, I loved it.
I'd watch it again.
Yeah, that's something.
It's an easy watch.
I could see myself adding that to I'll watch that once a year.
Yeah, that's my Christmas movie.
Like that's on there. Like so
like
far,
that,
it's like
The Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
I like The Grinch Who Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Right, and so that one would be on there. Probably Elf, obviously.
Yeah.
And then like a Christmas Story.
Yeah, and then throw this in there.
Yeah.
Violent Night when the kids go to bed. You put on Violent Night. Put on Violent Night and Die Hard and have fun. So, Chris, you got a cryptid over there for us?
I think what you meant to say is welcome back to Chris's Cryptid Corner. I'm your host, Chris. So this week, actually, I had a buddy recommended to me.
Oh, yeah?
And they wanted me to talk about the Amityville Horror House.
Oh, okay.
And I was pretty oblivious. I did not
Really?
know. Yeah, I wasn't aware. But as soon as it started making some of the connections, I was like, I've seen
bleeding walls. And,
Yeah. And they said they make a lot of the connections with like The Conjuring 2, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure Ed and Lorraine Warren investigate the Amity house.
Mm-hmm. But it says here that 3 a.m. The morning
Hold
of.
on. Sorry, before you get too involved, little connection. We'll do a cross promotional plug, don't you think?
Yeah.
What's the podcast that Morgan does?
Oh yeah, you can always take a look at a couple of creeps, and she's always talking about creepy things.
Yeah, this past
true
weekend,
crime.
past Sunday, Morgan and I talked about the Perrin family, which are the family from the first Conjuring. And so we did kind of talk about, Ed and Lorraine Warren a little bit, and kind of passingly mentioned Amityville Horror, actually. But yeah, so check that out if you want a little bit more than we got here.
Yeah. But so it says here, in the early morning, 3 a.m. specific, on November 13th, 1974, when Ronald Defoe Jr. took a .35 Marlin level action rifle, creeped on his family, and killed his whole family. Like his dad, mom, brother, wife, kids, everybody.
Yep.
And then, but the heinous murders weren't reported until 6:30 at night, when he's stumbling into a bar and he's trying to pawn it off like, help, someone killed my parents, my family.
Someone killed my family. Yeah.
And then the investigators were following, and nothing was adding up, and his alibis kept changing and everything, and led him to admit
confess,
that he did in fact kill all of his family.
Yeah.
I have a quote here from him. It's just a little, just a small quote, but during his confessions, he did just say, he's like, once I started, it all went so fast I just couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've talked about it in a jokingly manner. We would never commit heinous crimes.
Right. Yeah.
But like when we get so frustrated, we start to see red.
Yeah. We're seeing red.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, do you think that could have been a case where he just was so frustrated, he just started seeing red, and just by the time he was done,
there's a reason why like temporary insanity is a legitimate legal offense.
It is.
Of like, I was so enraged, or a moment of I lost control. I had no sense of right or wrong. I was just so angry.
Yeah. But then here it says that when he did go to court, that his lawyer William Weber eventually pleaded for insanity as a defense, claiming that Defoe's mind concurred him to commit these murders. Which honestly, like, I mean, that makes sense. No sane human,
a sane person would do that.
But the thing is that that's just the backstory. But
that's the face value.
Apparently George and Kathy Lutz moved into the house December 18th of 1975. For $88,000, which was dirt cheap. I think for the time for that house there, it was sitting at like $180,000.
Yeah, and they got it for almost half that.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Or for less than half.
Yeah, but they said they lived there for under a month. 28 days to be exact. And the family fled away. In interviews and reports that followed, George and Kathy Lutz spoke about the paranormal activities that had been happening since the day that they had moved in. While the exact details of the ghostly happenings were not revealed, the Lutz family had described them as too frightening to be living in. Now, we do know a couple of the things that they had talked about, like you were saying.
The walls bleeding.
I said I have. Let me pull up here. I have different...
There's been a few movies of the Amityville.
Yeah.
But one of them has Ryan Reynolds in it, and it's the more recent one from like 2003, I think.
Let's see. George claimed that every morning, 3:15 a.m., he would just wake up. And he was like, and I couldn't sleep for a little bit. I'd hear things in the house.
Yeah.
He said that when the priest came to bless the house, he allegedly heard the voice scream, "Get out!" And he told that Lutz he'd never sleep in that particular room of the house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, that's fucking nuts.
When the priest shows up to do your exorcism and is like, yeah, you guys should move.
Yeah. like he was like, do not sleep in that room.
Yeah. I was close. 2005.
2005.
Yeah. It's only a 90-minute movie. Do you remember those days? Dude.
You know what? Side note, real quick.
Yeah.
I'll save it for what I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Another, unlike I do have a couple
Yeah,
here.
yeah, go for it.
The Lutz family claimed to smell strange odors, see green slime oozing out of the walls and keyholes,
light switches.
light switches, experiencing cold spots in certain areas, as well as seeing eyes in the dark.
Yeah.
That scares the shit out of me because
Yeah.
sometimes when you're looking at the dark and you see something,
What
you're
is that?
what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Other paranormal activity that he made a recollection to was a nearby garage door opening and closing, an invisible spirit knocking a knife down in the kitchen, a pig-like creature with red eyes staring down at George and his son Daniel from a window, George walking up to his wife Kathy, levitating off of her bed, sons Daniel and Christopher also levitating off of their bed. But I mean... 28 days.
Yeah.
28 days and all that shit's happened.
Yeah.
That a priest comes in and goes, don't sleep in that room.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't fucking go in that room.
You should lock it up.
Yeah.
Don't go in there.
Yeah, that room's off limits.
And that kind of scares the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Now, I did look into where it is sitting at currently, because I was like, where's it at now? Does anyone buy it? And
I would imagine it's a museum.
as of 2022, the house is occupied by a buyer on the house that was purchased back in 2016.
It's occupied?
Correct. Someone does live there.
Somebody fucking lives
Someone
there?
does
What a
live there.
maniac.
They purchased it for $850,000, and it is a anonymous person. They did not,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Or no, excuse me. Yeah, it was purchased in 2016 for $850, and then was purchased by the unnamed buyer in 2017. So the museum was from 2016, and then 2017 a person bought it.
Okay, so it was a museum for a moment.
Correct. And then for $605,000. But the thing is, the previous owners of the house, they listed it originally for $1.15 million, which makes it the highest listed price ever for a haunted house. So it does hold that record.
Yeah.
Reasonably so. I mean,
Right,
the
yeah,
fucking priests are going in there and being like,
Yeah, you don't want to fucking live here.
um,
But I like that they had to. So it was originally posted at 1.15, and then sold for 850.
yeah, it looks like here
Work them down.
it was 1.15. 2010, a couple bought it for the discounted price of $950K, and then a buyer purchased it in that 2016 for that realtors.
Yeah.
For that $850, and then was sold again for $605.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's been decreasing.
Yeah.
I mean, because no one wants to
No one
fucking
wants to
live there.
Yeah.
But then hold on, I lost my place here.
Feels like it'd be
as I
like a
scroll
collector
back.
item almost. You know what I mean? Like if you're a millionaire
Yeah, just buy
who's
it and
obsessed
then-
with like the paranormal, yeah, buy that shit and just have it.
But I mean, then they made a bunch of movies about it, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
I have some more. I mean, I have a bunch of things that they have claimed, and
Yeah.
that's really what I wanted to dig into.
Yeah. Just rattle them off and we'll go, ooh, ooh.
George and Kathy Lutz claim to have seen a manifestation of a demon with half of its head blown apart, which, understandably so, could be a spirit of the house that
from
one of the family
killings.
members.
Yeah.
The house was constantly infested with flies in spite of it being winter season in
Right.
New York, because this
Yeah.
was on Long Island.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Missy, daughter of the Lutz family, befriended an entity called Jody, which is just like, and then they claim, and just mysterious things of things being said from Jody and just implicating evil things.
Yeah, where it's like, Jody says we're all gonna die. Yeah, and you're like, pardon. Yeah. Like you're living there for 28 days, and you're like,
we gotta
get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
It says George and Kathy reported hearing the house's front doors slamming shut on its own on multiple occasions. However, the door was also kept closed during the December winter season. So for it being bolted up and shut closed,
Yeah.
they're hearing it slam. That would scare the piss out of me, dude.
Yeah.
If like doors
if you know that
just,
you. Yeah,
I mean,
if
because
you know that you latched it.
But the thing is like it was constant, like opening and slamming and
Yeah.
opening. I don't know what I'd do, man. Crucifix that was hanged up on the wall kept turning upside down. And then Kathy apparently would have repeated visions of the murders by Ronald Defoe.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's movies made that.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that the Amityville horror with Ryan Reynolds is about the Lutzes.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
there's just a bunch of stuff but really those are the big things of what they claim, because I just thought that was kind of spooky.
Yeah.
Especially not knowing anything about this until it clicked, and The Conjuring 2. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I know it, but I was oblivious to the actual story behind it.
Yeah.
So,
Do yourself a favor. Look up Ryan Reynolds, Amityville Horror, shirtless. It's like the most ripped I think I've ever seen him. There's a very specific shot of him with an axe where he's out chopping wood, and you're like, Jesus Christ. That man's got to be on steroids in that shot.
let me see here.
Or like the muscle definition.
My God.
He's got what do they call it? Like the V, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
The crotch V. Oh God, what's his name? Leslie, the gentleman who passed away. What are y'all doing? Screwing.
What y'all doing?
He affectionately
Screwing.
calls those. I'm gonna put a little like content alert. This is a very crass phrase. So skip ahead like 5 seconds. He calls those cum gutters.
Jesus.
Yeah, like easy Pete's.
Yikes.
Yeah, but yeah. So I appreciate you talking about the Amityville Horror.
No, absolutely. And of course, if there's anything in specific you want to hear, like I said, a buddy who listens to the podcast said, hey, you should definitely give this a look if you don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
He was talking about it. So, you could definitely leave us a message at simplywellmailbag@gmail.com.
Yeah, and then just put like Chris's Cryptic Corner in the subject line.
Just put as Chris's Cryptic Corner.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What have you been thinking about?
I've been playing Drug Dealer Simulator.
Rock on.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for a good simulator game. I think we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
I love me a simulator game. Like, Drug Dealer Simulator is actually just a good game.
Yeah.
As far as, like...
I've seen you play it a couple
Yeah,
times.
I mean, so they just had an update come out called, like, the Endgame update, where, like, it's basically done now. Because it's been one of those games that they just have updated over time.
Sure.
Which kind of seems to be, like, the PC game thing to do. And all free updates, which is cool. Yeah. But, so, it seems like I'm not there yet, but once you level up enough, you'll be able to be, like, a kingpin, basically, of, like, customizing your villa and shit like that, and, like, having a whole crib, you know what I mean? Because, like, so far, all the apartments that you can buy,
fairly small.
they're slummy, you know? I mean, you're basically in a ghetto in, like, the traditional sense of, like, a walled-in area that you're stuck in.
Yeah.
And you're just dealing drugs, and there's the authority there. You got to evade the police, and like it turns into like there's a lot to balance. Where it's like if you can set the prices on your drugs, and you've got to order your drugs, and you got to launder your money, and there's actually a lot to it. And I find myself like using my iPad to write notes down. Where I'm like, I got to remember to buy this and that, and all right, I got to go. While I'm out, I need to talk to someone. Okay. I've got like a to-do list as a drug dealer, and I've got like 9 dealers working for me, you know what I mean? And I'm like taking bulk orders, and I'm like, oh man, this is pretty interesting. And apparently they're making a Drug Dealer Simulator 2, which they said is like, they had limitations when they made the first one, and so they're like, this is what we wanted it to be more like, but you loved this one, so we're gonna make another one and make it better, right? And I'm like, yeah. I'm down for it, but no, I've been binging it hard.
I want to get gas station simulator.
Yeah, it's a fun one. You've seen me play that one.
Yeah, that one catches.
And like
my
you
eye.
customize your gas station,
That's
like
what
you can
piques my
put
interest.
the stock out and all that. And that company is, I think it's the same publisher as Drug Dealer Simulator.
Okay.
But not the same developer. But that developer is actually making like a roadside diner simulator as well as a motel simulator.
But you can connect
and they're
all
all going to connect. Yeah. So like the business that you get at your motel helps your roadside diner and your gas station and all that. And yeah, it'll all kind of overlap, which is kind of a neat idea.
Yeah.
Of like an interconnected universe of simulator games, And I'm like, for me as a simulator nerd, I'm like, yeah, do it. I'll do it so good, like, So yeah, that's kind of neat. What have you been thinking about? There's something you were going to talk about that you're like, I'll save it for talking about 90-minute movies.
I forget. Oh no, actually, like on the low.
Yeah.
On the low, Kung Fu Panda is a good movie.
I like that's what you've been thinking about. It's just Kung Fu Panda is a banger.
I'm just laying in bed, and I was just like scrolling through HBO, and I saw that like Kung Fu Panda was on there. I was like, oh, yo! And I was like, let me throw that on. And so I watched, and I'm just sitting there. I was like,
oh, this is gas.
like, actually, like, this is good. Like, I remember it being a good movie, right?
Yeah,
But I was a kid, and I'm like rewatching this. I'm like, the story arc is good, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a story I can get invested into.
Yeah.
I was like, the animation for its time has aged
pretty well.
extremely well, I think. I mean, because I feel like, and it made me think, I feel like one of the biggest problems I run into now is that I notice a lot of the CGI is very cartoony. It doesn't look real. But this one here, I don't know, had like a weird mixture of like, obviously it's a cartoon.
It's stylized enough that it kind of hides some of the iffiness.
Right.
It didn't go for hyper realism.
Right. But I thought it was really good.
And the fucking wushu finger holding, it's funny.
Yeah, I was just like,
And it's got a killer cast.
Yeah,
You got
absolutely.
Jackie Chan, you got fucking Jack Black, you've got
Angelina
Jolie, Lucy Liu.
Yep.
Is Lucy Liu Viper?
Yes, and then Seth Rogen plays
Seth Rogen
Mantis.
is the
And then I can't remember
I can't think who plays
Crane.
Master Oogway. He's the grandpa from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yesterday was history. Tomorrow a mystery. Today is a gift.
That is why
what
they
call
call
it the present. I love that quote. Like,
Yeah.
and like it is. It's just such a good movie.
Yeah.
The I don't
wushu
know.
finger
It's just
hold.
it's underrated. And then I got to
I say
thinking
skadoosh all the time.
skadoosh. But now I want to watch all of them, and I'm just gonna. I think I'm gonna burn through all the Kung Fu Pandas and just.
The
Talk
other one
about
that's
it.
like that, again, it's another DreamWorks, is How to Train Your Dragon.
Again, very good movies.
Very good movies.
They slept on them hard.
Yeah.
Hard. Especially the second one, How to
Yeah.
Train Your Dragon. Did they make a third one?
Yeah.
Did they? I don't think I've seen the third one.
Third one's got Hiccup's got a fucking beard.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll see the third one. I don't think
He's
I've
missing his foot.
Wait, well, he's missing his foot since the first one.
Right, yeah, but I mean, so you've got him like missing his foot. He's got his beard. He looks like a full
Pirate.
Viking warrior. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, he's riding a dragon into battle.
You say a peg and a beard, I think.
Arr.
Scurvy.
What's a pirate's favorite letter of the alphabet? I, because he's missing one.
Huh?
Yeah.
Because he's missing one. Damn.
Fucking got you. Oh, shit.
No, I've been playing Pokemon a whole lot too. I've been grinding the fuck out of that. I need to play I need to be
You been playing God of War?
I have actually.
Yeah.
I have progressed a little bit, but we'll talk about that off podcast. I'm just trying to progress through everything slowly. It's gonna, dude. I'm gonna be a busy guy because I gotta clear both of these out, and then something else comes out before Christmas.
Well, The Long Dark just came out. The DLC
That's
did.
what it was. The Long Dark came out. We're gonna be grinding on that until February or March, or no, February,
Yeah.
because that's when not
Sons
the
of
day
the Forest.
before, but Sons of the Forest comes out,
And then in
in
March,
the day before, and then the day
After
before
that, I don't remember.
I'm gonna grind on that for the rest of the year.
No, you're not.
Watch how fast I am. Like,
You'll play the hell out of it even if it's bad, just because you can't admit that you were wrong. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What's your fucking point here?
yeah, I don't. What are you gonna gain from this?
All right, man.
But,
Well,
yeah, we've been going on for a while. How long have we been going
hour
on?
and a half.
Well, it's been
Yeah,
almost-
right
it felt
on
like a good consistency.
Yeah. I like just this shop talk in the middle of making the thing. Well, I mean, I think the flow was nice, and I think we may have talked too long about that, but I don't know. No. So again, we want to thank you guys so much for your attention and support. If you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like and a share on social media.
Absolutely.
Leave us a review on
I'm trying to be more
Apple
active
Podcast
on
Twitter.
On Twitter,
I saw your posts today. Yeah.
You like the emoji I used?
Yeah. The lip bite. Was that for Jedi Survivor?
Lip.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty creative.
Yeah. You threw me off. Talking about the lip biting. No, yeah. Share us on social media, definitely.
Absolutely.
Leave us a review. However whatever you're listening to us on, make sure that you're liking, subscribing, following, whatever the phraseology is there to get notified when we post our videos or our episodes here. I mean, I'm still behind on YouTube. I got to catch up on that.
Yeah,
But
one day.
yeah, I've got a long weekend coming up. Maybe I'll sit down and put some work in.
I don't know the next time I have 2 days off.
Yeah, so we've mentioned it before. We got our Facebook group going.
Yes.
We got a Reddit. So definitely check those out. Not very active yet, but that's fine. Don't need to be. You know,
No, we're
it's
taking
just a place for you to show up and say what you want to say, as long as it's polite and sweet. You know,
Yeah, I'm a sensitive baby.
don't be a goblin. Don't be a Kanye in there. You know,
I'm a very sensitive boy.
that's true. You are. Chris, if people want to get in touch with us and offend your sensitive, boyhood, how would they do that?
Of course, you can always reach out to us, via YouTube, Instagram, Facebook at Simply Whelmed Podcast. You can always take a look at us via Twitter, and our handle is whelmed_simply. And as always, you can always send nice and positive things about my insecurities at simplywhelmedmailbag@gmail.com.
Yes.
Yeah.
So next week, we're either going to be talking about the menu or the Game Awards, depending on how much news comes out of that, because they're talking about doing a bunch of like gameplay reveals, a bunch of like world premieres and things like that. So depending on how like how high of a caliber that stuff is, just to kind of will depend on how much time we have to devote to it. You know what I mean?
We could always just do a short mini-sode.
Yeah, it just depends.
Just up strictly about the Game Awards.
Yeah. We just do a live commentary. We just sit there and record our thoughts as it's airing. But see, the only problem with that is...
we don't have anything to do live, do we?
Right, well, no, yeah, exactly. We don't have, I mean, we could do like a Facebook Live, but no. And then also, people would have to be watching to get what we're talking about.
That's
you know what I mean?
True. That's very true.
Yeah, so I don't see that happening.
Pass.
Yeah. So,
Ooh, Violent Night, gas or pass?
gas.
What?
We just spent the whole episode just
Gassing
it up, and I'm like, yeah, pass. So, yeah, that's the end of the show, Chris. Tell you bye.
Bye.
Just fucking get out.
Dude, yeah. Imagine if a priest was straight up terrified, saying,
Yeah, the priest
"Do
is
not
leaving
sleep in this
sweating.
room."
You know, that priest is like, I gotta call a priest in here. You know, wait, you're the fucking priest guy. It's like, no, I'm like a priest junior. We need like top tier.
We need senior.
We need like the Pepsi Max of priests. You know.